couple of months ago, I went live on TikTok. I've done this before, but always as a digital artist. This time, I broke out my traditional tools. I opened my new Moleskine sketchbook, clicked the back of my pencil, and started a new portrait drawing. My lines were flowing well and following what I was visualizing in my head, right up until I made my first mistake. Mistakes are common, and they're easy to fix with an eraser, but that's not what I did. The first movement I made was to tap the sketchbook with 2 fingers. If you use Procreate on the iPad, you know that this is the gesture for the command undo. I had just tried to digitally undo my traditional drawing live in front of a few dozen people. I tried to shake it off, but I unfortunately did not stop there. Did it 2, 3, 4 more times. Needless to say, it kind of left me a little embarrassed and confused. We all make mistakes in our art, whether we have to use an eraser or we use the power of undo. But the undo button is so easy and fast that it feeds into a feeling that artists shouldn't have and leaves you with unintended consequences. And that starts by feeling that your drawing isn't good enough. Most artists tend to be perfectionists. We want our sketchbook to look beautiful. We want our final illustrations to look perfect. They even fear starting new work because they're afraid it's not going to come out just the way that they want. Perfectionism is not striving to be the best. It's driven by your fear of judgment. Deep down, you're worried about what other people think. What will they think if my sketch looks bad? What if they don't like my style? What if they're not interested in my ideas at all? This kind of thinking leads you to avoid the failures and mistakes that are required for deep learning and growth. You'll either try to avoid new things that you're going to be terrible at least at first, or you'll be completely devastated every time you try something. You'll avoid art for months. Don't get me wrong, the undo button is incredibly useful and should be used. But with the wrong mindset, you could fall down a slippery slope of never feeling like you're good enough. You could argue that an eraser could feed into those perfectionist tendencies, but it takes time and effort to use one. The undo button is scarier simply because it's easier to use and really, really fast. That means digital artists have to be more cognizant of becoming addicted to perfectionism than traditional artists. The risk of adopting that toxic mindset is greater. My need to undo during my live portrait drawing session was a genuine mistake that I wanted to fix. Not every press of the undo button is a desire to feed into perfectionist tendencies. There are times where you're actually striving for excellence in your work. As I said before, using undo isn't a bad thing. Any tool that makes your process more efficient is a good one. The catch is knowing when you are using the tool and when the tool is using you. When you use undo the right way, it's internally driven. You're trying to become an amazing artist and you're using all of the tools at your disposal. When you use undo the wrong way, it's self-destructive. You're looking to be perfect in the eyes of others, something that is unattainable because you can't control the perception of others. I would say if you're using undo more than 5 times on one line, think about if you're striving for excellence or digging a grave towards perfection. When you feel like you undo more than you draw or paint, it's a sign you're protecting yourself. You weren't perfect enough, so you keep hitting that undo button until you make a line that's worthy, that no one can judge poorly. Your art journey is a massive adventure. If you overuse the undo button and hinder your curiosity, you won't ever take the risks necessary to make great discoveries. Mistakes and failures are opportunities for learning, and you won't get anywhere as an artist without them. At the end of the day, ask yourself, are you using the undo button out of fear or out of a curiosity to do better? If it's the former, confront that toxicity and turn it around. If it's the latter, take even greater risks to discover worlds you never thought possible. That's our episode for today. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And thank you to Wacom for sponsoring this episode. Their continued support is helping me to create more content for you. And for everyone out there who is working on becoming a professional artist, I know how hard that is. I'm with you and I am doing it too. Have a happy and healthy creative process.